This is Flowers on the Stage.
My earliest memory is listening to Toto 4 on my Fisher Price record player in my room. I was probably about 3, 4, somewhere in there.
Any memories like playing early on?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, because I started playing when I was like 8. And so I remember getting my first bass. It's a super core memory. Um, and I remember all those memories of like just starting out playing and like taking lessons. I took lessons at this. I was living in Los Angeles and I took lessons at this music store. It was the music store on the bottom, and above it there were these offices type there, but it was connected to the music store, and so they offered lessons there. And so my dad got me a bass and got me lessons, and it was like if I could complete the first chunk of lessons that came with the bass, the rental of the bass, then he would let me keep going. That was kind of like our deal. And so yeah, I remember those lessons and walking up the stairs and all the teachers, and it was great. I mean, I just feel fortunate that I was able to start playing at such a young age and have
Turned
those
out
memories.
well.
Yeah.
So jumping to the side a little bit, I know STS9, you got some new music coming out. And yeah, just kind of putting a spotlight on that. Would love for you to, talk to me a bit about the new music and maybe I don't know if there's any stories behind the songs.
Man, we're doing a really big deep dive right now, like literally right now, talking about all the songs that are going to be on our upcoming album. We're going to start releasing singles in like literally like I think it's 2 weeks or a week. It's coming up quick, our first single. And once we start releasing singles, we're going to keep going. We have so much music that we're breaking it down into two EPs, and then there'll be a third release that will be the whole album. And it's a lot of music, 20 something songs. So
Can't wait.
we're super excited about it. And right now we're like doing a deep dive into talking about where these songs came from, the inspirations behind them, and we're going in um uh we're basically going into our studio to really like talk about that and like
Amazing.
record ourselves talking about it. And so you have a lot to hear. I'm not going to spoil it because
No,
it's
yeah.
worked on right now, and we're excited to kind of just share the music and kind of get that out there and really tell the story that we've been trying to tell forever, but also just like in the most recent incarnation of this group, what we're saying, what we're trying to say. And so this is like, a culmination of a lot of years of recording and working on different songs. And, we just kept writing more songs. And so we're just excited to share it.
That's so cool. You're doing that in a studio all together.
Yeah.
Love that. How has your relationship changed over the years to live performing?
I mean, I started playing, the bass in like performing, whether it be playing with, the youth orchestra or playing in a band or any of the above. I have early memories of playing, of doing those things when I was a teenager, or, like 14 around there. And, it was so exciting. I just always have loved it. I've always loved playing live and playing with other musicians, in person, in front of people, it just, there's something about it that's so just unique. And it's such a, I don't know. It's always just such a special, unique experience. So I've always really enjoyed that, and I think that carries me through today. It's the same. The feeling I have for playing music, and how grateful I am to be able to play, and all those things about getting in front, communicating musically with each other, and those moments that happen, that you work really hard to like. That's your reward. Is like you finally get to do it. So I still have that, and that's still the same throughout this whole time that I've played music. I think right now I'm probably just, as I get older and wiser, hopefully, I'm just so much more grateful to play music. Like after COVID, I mean, I don't think you can't not be more appreciative of those moments in a whole different way, like to have it just go away. And then all of a sudden I mean, I don't think none of us really expected that. So, those are the two big ones for me. It's just like it's the same, but it's just a little bit with a little bit more appreciation and gratefulness.
So then more recently, what have been like some of your favorite parts of your job?
Oh God. I mean, it's so hard to put into words, like to be able to, play music that you love, with people that you love and care about, um, is so it's just such a gift. And uh I've just had the greatest time this year in particular. We've done some really special shows this year, this over 2024, like with Elsewhere. Some of those events where we really get to connect with our fans in a way that we don't normally. Those have been really special. But in general, like my favorite part of my job is literally just playing the bass. I'm just at heart, I'm just that person. I just like to play and just we usually start playing backstage pretty early on in the afternoon before sound check, and then we carry it right over. So we're just like playing all day. So it's really, yeah, that's probably my favorite part.
I love that. Like, got to keep the main thing the main thing.
Yeah.
So, would you say that this time that you've spent like performing live on stage and, collaborating in bands, all the time spent over the years, do you feel like that's changed you as a person?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think like I would imagine like you do that with any job that you've had for a really long time where you like kind of grow up through it, like you have this life that's your job and your career. And with music it's interesting because you're so intensely involved in that process that sometimes you have to really make sure that you remember that playing the bass isn't who I am. That's not me. I play the bass, but it's not all of me. So as you like grow as a person in life, it really like you also grow as a musician in life. It kind of mirrors each other in this really interesting way. Um, and so one changes the other, right? Like one
Mm.
influences the other. But all the opportunities I've had to play with different people over the years have just given me so much experience. And I think some of that is kind of reflected in how I'm trying to play right now, of just being really consistent and really, I mean, just as solid a bass player as I can possibly be. That's kind of like my focus right now. Whereas like maybe earlier in my life, I wasn't as like honed into that, like because you're younger and you're sort of like trying to figure out, yeah, who you are as a musician and all those things. So yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So, I'd love to hear like what intangible personal qualities you think are most important when it comes to being a successful artist, like being great in a band.
Being great in a band. Well, first of all, to say that there's so many different types of artists. I think so many different types of, there's no one path, to say that. I was talking to somebody uh recently about this, how like I can look at all my peers that I went to the University of Michigan with, to music school with, and see, you know, I mean, it just blows my mind, like what people are able to do and achieve with music. But it's all a different pathway. Like no one of us took really the same path to get to where we wanted to go. And so there's so many different things. But in terms of your question about playing in a band specifically, the qualities that you need to do that, you of course you have to be a good musician, right? I mean, that's just there's so many. We don't have a shortage of those. Amazing technical musicians. But it really does involve being able to work well with other people, being able to compromise, being able to communicate, really, I think at the end of the day, communicate your musical ideas, you know, in a way that other people can hear, you know. So those interpersonal skills, I think, you know, before I was playing in STS9, I was doing a lot of like freelance work. And in that situation, you know, you really have to, you got to be on your toes in terms of your hang, you know, like what's your vibe? Like, you know, can you, because you're with people for lots of hours in a day, you know, when you're on tour with someone, I mean, it's a lot of time that you're spending together. So, you know, being able to, um, hang with people and be comfortable, you know, that's a big part of it, as much as you know, being able to fulfill the job, you know the songs, be prepared, you know, these are things that, you know, sometimes people take them for granted, but it really is a thing, like where, you know, people will show up and they won't be prepared for a gig. And you, I mean, that's basic. You got to do that, right? So I think those are all the things, but being in a band specifically is really it's so fun. For me, it's like the most fun because then you really get to know each other um deeply musically, and you're able to develop like a communication just like while we're playing, and things that we know to expect from each other, you know, and kind of like getting in each other's heads in this really beautiful way that, you know, it takes a long time to achieve that. So when you get to have that consistency of the people in the band, you know, so it being in a band is to me, it's the most fun.
This is Flowers on the Stage, a podcast about being creative and finding success. To support it, please check out our sponsors, New Belgium Brewing and Thrax CBD. And now, back to the episode.
What would you say are the most important traits that you'd use to describe like your ideal leader of a group?
I don't know, man. That's a hard question because I think people can lead in different ways and each are powerful. I think like you got to be able to assess like everybody in the group and know what everybody's strengths are so that you can really play into those as much as possible. You know, I think we always in STS9 we always feel that way about our band, is like it's always the most powerful when we're all like giving our own unique thing to it, you know? Like so so that's super, you know, that I think that's super important, you know. But sometimes being a leader in a band can be just like being prepared, you know, like again, like you call a bunch of people to do a gig for you, and do you have charts for them? Do you have the music for them? Do you have all the basic things that it takes to lead a band, you know? And so it really depends on the situation musically, but for STS9, I think it really is like we don't, the beautiful thing about it is we don't have anyone leading, right? And we're all leading it, like we're all doing it together. And it really is, we really try to keep to that because it, like I said, we feel we're the best when we do that. So um so yeah, I mean, if I'm leading my own Alana Rocklin quartet, that's a different story, right? I'm going to need to come into that situation, making sure that like every musician has exactly what they need to be prepared so that we can come in and rock a show or a recording or whatever it is. And to me, that is crucial to being a good leader in a band, because sometimes, you know, I might get a call from somebody to do something and it's like, okay, you know, I don't have like you know, I need to have the music, like at least the recording, you know, so I can be prepared, you know. So I think some of those things are also just basic leadership things that musicians have to do when they're leading a band in that case, you know.
Hmm. So jump into like artists you admire, like your favorite artists you look up to that got you into it in the first place. Like what personal or artistic qualities come to mind that you admire most?
I've just been like super lucky to have like a bunch of amazing teachers, you know. Every single one of them has been so patient with me. So, you know, artists I admire, teachers, all those things. I mean, there's so many, right? Because I've had so many people like really, I feel pour into me in a way that I'm just so thankful for. There's like the category of people that are my teachers that I admire, that I consider people that are, you know, musicians, but that I, you know, have a direct like relationship with. And then there's like people that I just, you know, like Jaco Pastorius is like, I mean, that's just at all time, right? Then I don't, of course, I don't know, I never met Jaco, or I never got to see Jaco play live, but um, he's definitely like life changing. You know, somebody, when I heard him, it changed me. Like I was like, oh my God, wow, okay. You know, Stanley Clarke. Although I have gotten to meet Stanley Clarke and hang with him, which is super epic, which brings me back to the original thing, which is Stuart Sankey, who I studied with at Michigan. He's a, you know, used to be an amazing bassist in his own right, but he was also just a world-renowned teacher, and someone that if you are in the double bass community, the upright bass community, you know who Stuart Sankey is. And so to get to study with him, he was so patient with me. He was so giving, and and then I got to study with this incredible bassist, Rodney Whitaker, who is a Detroit upright jazz bassist. And he pretty much taught me everything I know about walking bass lines, about chords, about how to really, you know, lead the ear with the bass and play melodic and, you know, have good time. You know, all those things are really his I steal everything I know from him on that tip. So and then I have to always shout out Victor Wooten, who is just, you know, the goat of all inspiration, that we all, you know, somebody that we can all look up to. He just released this video today about I've been thinking about it all day. Have you seen it? Have you seen his thing?
No, but I've read his books.
Yes, his books are incredible. He's releasing these series of like I think he's calling Wooten's Wisdom or something to that effect. But these, you know, he has just so many incredible things to say. I mean, you just all his brothers, you know, and I've had a great friendship with all of them for a lot of years, and gotten to play with them on their gigs or in different situations. And but Victor in particular is just someone that I got to see Victor play for the first time when I was 10, and I in the Flecktones, and I started playing the bass when I was 8, right? And when I first saw when I first saw Victor Wooten play, it was at this festival called Summer Lights in Nashville. If you're like old school Nashville, you know that. My dog is, I'm sorry. You gonna see my dog?
You're good. What's up? We got a special guest.
um, but I got to see him play when I was 10. I started playing the bass when I was 8. And when I saw him play for the first time, I literally could not make sense of the fact that we played the same instrument. It was like that. It was like, I was like, no, he plays the bass and I play the bass, but I don't know what he's doing. I can't even understand it. It was so absolutely incredible. And so from that, like living in Nashville, like I had this whole part of me admiring Victor Wooten way before I met him, right? Like long before. He would play in like he had this gig playing in this vegetarian restaurant where he would play solo. You could just go to this restaurant and it would be Vic playing, you know, Beatles tunes, like, you know, two hands and like all this stuff. And so I grew up listening to him, like just loving the Flecktones. I was always a big fan of Bela Fleck and the Flecktones, and, you know, got to know all of them, you know, and they became friends, you know, so that is a trip, you know, when you grow up listening to people that you just like blow your mind, and then eventually you find yourself like actually like playing with them or recording with them or whatever. So those are kind of like my top inspirations, I guess. And then like I could go down the line on, people I listen to the most would probably be like Miles Davis, 100%, and everything that comes from Miles Davis, whether that be Wayne Shorter or all Ron Carter, everything Ron Carter, and any of that jazz, like that period of jazz, like that's something I listen to every day. Um, Prince, I listen to Prince probably every day. I love Prince. I'll never get over Prince. I got to meet him too. That was crazy. Um, and then like on the electronic tip, it would have to be Square Pusher. That's like my top guy. Like like when I saw Square Pusher live, again, life changing. Like straight up like made me rethink everything I thought about the bass when I saw him play. And I hope to see him play again. I sincerely hope he comes to these states sometime. But that's a pretty good list for you.
Yeah. What would you say is kind of what would you say with people who don't get the appeal of instrumental music? Kind of what they just aren't understanding.
Mm, it's hard, man. I mean, I think some people it might not be something they can get. I don't know. I think part of that is like when people that play instrumental music are doing it well, it's easy to understand, I think.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I think it's like you got to listen for the melodies, sometimes it's just about like, I think not having words can be freeing, in your mind when you're listening to music, and to kind of just try to maybe get in touch with that a little bit.
Hmm. What do you feel like is the best advice you've ever been given that you've actually followed?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what that is. I couldn't even pick one, but I know that it was probably something my mom said. Something my mom said to
It
me.
usually is. It usually
Mhm,
is.
for sure.
What what is something that you believe now that you didn't believe when you were younger, or if you prefer something that you don't believe now that you did believe when you were much younger about life?
Mm, man, you just got all the tough questions. We're getting like existential on life here.
Shoot.
I mean, I guess it's really like I guess there's just a lot of things for me that I still believe. Like in my mind, it's like nothing has really changed for me in a lot of ways. Like in my head of, okay, I want to be a good person. I want to start there. I want to be a good human being, like I want to be a kind neighbor. I want to be someone that, you know, thinks about other people. I don't know, like that's like starting there, right? And then sort of like all those things that I feel like go into at the end of the day, pouring into your life is pouring into music. At certain points in time, you're going to have times where, or at least in my experience, where you're focused more on your life and the music kind of follows that. But then you have times in your life where the music is everything. It's all the focus, and it's almost like hard to even think about anything else, right? So I mean, I guess maybe that's something that I could say has changed, is just like really like kind of understanding that more and like being able to balance life and music more. But really all the things that I feel about life that are important are really just like they haven't changed. They're all the things my, mom taught me, from being a way before I even thought about being a musician, and so those are the most important things for me.
I love it. Starting to wrap up here.
All right.
Um, any lyrics come to mind to you that are just some of your absolute favorite in music? Whether
Mm,
it's lyrics you wrote at a song that never even was released, or just lyrics of your favorite song?
Man, it's so funny because like I've always been this. I think that's why I'm a bass player. I've always thought this. This is like deep thoughts. I always thought that when I listen to music, I almost like it takes me a while to get into the lyrics. I'm so focused on the music, like even if it has lyrics, like I'm so focused on the groove or this one little guitar thing or things that I've like get hyper focused on that I love to listen to. And like I know like being such a big Prince fan over the years, like I've had several people be like, yeah, I just can't, I don't know, like his lyrics, or I can't get into, some of these songs or whatever. And it doesn't even register in my brain. I'm so focused on like the music and so but there's, I personally think like, you know, STS9 has some amazing lyrics that I've always loved through the years. Um, I guess to say like I'm most excited about, we have I'm pretty sure right now it's our second single that's going to come out. And it has this really incredible lyric in it that I'm kind of like obsessed with. I think it speaks to me in a really deep way. Um, and so yeah, I'll share it with you. You know what? I'm not going to share it with you. I'm going to let everybody catch up to it, and you can get into it for yourself. But it's going to be the second single, and I think it's a beautiful lyric, and um, yeah, I think lyrics are something that for me, I think uh, they're not they're not they're not as prominent for me maybe as some other people, so I hesitate to even say but in terms of like anything besides STS9, I'm gonna go with like my favorite bands like that are, you know, it's probably some like Pink Floyd lyric or, you know, some weird Led Zeppelin lyric, kind of from that that era. So I'm gonna roll with that.
I respect it. Well, it's been so great to speak with you. Everyone out there, you listen this far, we've got links in the description to grab tickets to STS9's shows, newly announced Nashville shows, and rest of their currently announced 2025 tour dates, as well as all that new music we were talking about. We'll have links to check that out and follow them. And yeah, Alana, thanks so much for taking the time to join me here. Any final words for your fans out there listening as we're wrapping up?
Oh man, thanks for having me today. Such a great discussion about so many incredible things. We're just in such an inspired place. So thanks to everyone out there for listening. Thanks for the support. Thank you guys for, you know, always being in our corner. We feel that, and hopefully that comes through in the music because it's definitely a big part of it. So we can't wait to share all the new dates that we have coming up, all the shows. So yeah, I'm gonna see you guys out there.
I love it. Well, speaking on behalf of everyone, it definitely does come through. And, pleasure was all mine. Thank you for taking the time here and for all you do, all the music, and thanks to the whole gang for, you know, giving us what we need. So with that, thanks everyone for listening, and shout out to you, Alana. Thanks for being amazing.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Have a good one.